My son, Elle, just turned 16. I tried to make the day special: cake, decorations, a few family members. I thought maybe he'd feel seen, appreciated, loved. I thought I could make up for all the years I stood by and let things slide, but it only proved how far gone things really are. Elle has never gotten along with my husband, his stepfather, or his stepbrother. Same age. The teasing, the backhanded comments, the subtle and sometimes not so subtle exclusion, it's been years of it. I'd argue, I'd try to talk to them, but I always tried to keep the peace instead of actually protecting my son the way I should have. I kept thinking things would improve if I just kept trying. That night, everything fell apart. We were gathered around the cake. Everyone was singing. Elle looked like he was trying to enjoy it, maybe trying to believe that for one night, he mattered. But just as he leaned in to blow the candles, my husband reached out and slapped him across the face. He laughed and said it was a joke. Then my stepson chimed in with a cruel comment I won't repeat, and they both laughed like it was some hilarious prank. The room went completely silent. Everyone was stunned. And Elle snapped. He didn't hesitate. He went straight for his stepbrother, knocked him down and kicked him hard in the stomach. Then he got on top of him and began punching again and again. My stepson screamed and tried to block the blows, but Elle was beyond control. When people rushed in to pull him off, he resisted with everything he had. It took several adults to finally drag him away, but as soon as they loosened their hold, he broke free again and charged at my husband. This time, he kicked him hard in the face. The crack was sickening. Later, we found out my husband's nose was broken and he lost a couple teeth. He collapsed to the ground, bleeding and disoriented. Elle was still trying to go after him before someone finally tackled him to the floor and held him there. It took 5 people to keep him down. And then, through the chaos, my son looked at me. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. His eyes said everything. Hurt, fury, betrayal. All the years of me doing nothing finally caught up to us both in that one look. My brother turned to me, clearly disgusted, and said, "You had one job to protect him, and you failed." The ambulance came, but no one gave a statement. Everyone just walked out, one by one. I think they didn't want to get involved. Now, Elle is staying with my sister. He hasn't spoken to me since. I'm terrified for him. I don't know what's going through his head or how he's doing. Meanwhile, my husband is furious, not just hurt, but angry. He wants to press charges against Elle for assault. He's been ranting ever since, talking about calling the police and demanding justice for what happened. He refuses to acknowledge his own role in any of this. My stepson is no better. He's been yelling about how Elle won't get away with it, and even threatened that he'll get people to jump him at school if he ever shows up again. It's like they still don't understand, like none of this has shaken them awake. I don't know what's going to happen next. I just hope Elle is somewhere safe. I hope he's surrounded by people who actually care about him, because right now I don't think he has any reason to believe I ever did. Update 1. My husband destroyed what was left of my son's world. Trigger warning: emotional abuse, destruction of property, family violence. It's been a few days since Elle's birthday. I wish I could say things have calmed down, but they've only gotten worse. Much worse. The morning after the incident, I woke up to shouting outside. My heart dropped. I looked out the window and saw everything my son owned: his clothes, books, school supplies, even personal keepsakes, all thrown out onto the front lawn. Some of it torn, some of it soaked from a garden hose, and some destroyed beyond repair. The worst was his guitar. It wasn't just a guitar, it was his guitar. A gift from his biological father before he passed away. It was the one thing Elle cherished most. My husband took it out front and burned it. I could see the ashes still smoldering when I ran outside. He knew what that guitar meant to Elle. He knew, and he did it anyway. I was in shock. Our neighbors and worse, our family were witnessing everything. Some of them started yelling at him. My husband's only response was smug silence. He looked proud of it. A few relatives walked off in disgust. Others stayed, trying to salvage what little was left. My brother called me not long after. He didn't yell. His voice was cold and firm. He told me, "You have a choice to make." That's all he said. and he hung up. I tried calling Elle, begging him to come back. I told him I would fix everything. I even, and I hate myself for this, asked him to apologize to his stepfather just to calm things down. My sister answered instead. She was furious. She called me delusional, said they all saw how my husband and his son treated Elle over the years, and swore they would never let him come back to this house. That afternoon, more family members showed up not to see me, but to gather the rest of Elsie's belongings. My husband stormed out of the house holding a baseball bat, yelling at them to get off his property. But he backed down the moment a police officer pulled up, responding to a call someone had made. My husband put on a fake smile and told the officer it was all a family misunderstanding. The cop didn't say much. He didn't even raise his voice, but I could feel the judgment in his eyes every time he looked at me. As my family packed what was left into their cars, my brother picked up the shattered remains of Elle's guitar. He looked at my husband not with anger, but with pure contempt. My husband sneered. "Go ahead, say it." My brother just turned and walked away. That silence hit harder than any insult could. Later that night, I tried to talk to my husband, to calm him down. I told him this had gone too far, that he needed to stop, but he wouldn't listen. He called my son a spoiled little brat and said he'd make a man out of him one way or another. Then my stepson, who's been eerily quiet since that night, said, "I already got a plan." I froze. I begged them not to hurt Elle. I said he's just a kid, that he's been through enough. My husband just glared at me. A cold, hard stare that made me go silent. I don't even know why I couldn't speak. I just felt small, powerless, like I didn't recognize the man sitting in my own house. I don't know what's going to happen next. I just know I'm scared for my son and for what's left of this house that I used to call a home. Update 2. I'm cornered and I don't know what to do anymore. Trigger warning: emotional neglect, gaslighting, family conflict. It's been weeks since everything happened at Elle's birthday. Weeks of walking on eggshells, pretending things are okay, pretending I still believe they can be. My husband has been quiet, cold, unpredictable. He hasn't laid a hand on me, not once, and keeps saying he just wants peace. He insists Elle overreacted, that everything was taken out of context, that it was all just a misunderstanding. And for a while, I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Some of the few friends I have left have gently and not so gently told me to leave him, to get out now before more damage is done. But I kept saying no. I kept thinking, he's just rough around the edges, that maybe this was just a bad phase, that maybe if I just held on longer, things would go back to normal. I had a meeting with my brother and sister a few days ago. It wasn't friendly. They're angry, heartbroken, tired, and I didn't expect the things they brought up. They laid out everything, no holding back. They told me they'd seen Jared, my stepson, bully Elle for years, not teasing real targeted bullying. They'd heard the things he said, the way he treated him when he thought no one was watching. They reminded me that my husband didn't just neglect Elle, he pushed him around, mocked him, made him feel small. And every time they tried to tell me, I brushed them off, made excuses, said Elle was just being sensitive or that Jared was just being a teenager. I told them Elle needed a father figure in his life. That's when my brother looked me in the eye and said he didn't need a father after losing his. He needed a mother who would fight for him, and he never had that. They told me that the one day Elle could have felt special, could have felt seen, I let them destroy it. That I stood by while his stepfather humiliated him and then later burned the only thing he had left from his dad, that guitar. Then came the ultimatum. They said if I don't leave my husband, if I don't kick him and Jared out of the house, they're done. They won't help me. They won't let Elle come near me. They won't let me hurt him again, even indirectly. I protested. I told them it's my house too. But then my sister cut me off. "It's not yours," she said. "It was your husband's house, the one you actually loved, and he left it to his son. You're a guest in it now, and you're protecting the ones who ruined it." I didn't have a response. I got up and left. Furious, embarrassed, hurt. But now, sitting alone, I realize I'm not just angry, I'm rattled. I feel like I've been slowly waking up in a nightmare I helped create. Everything they said, I can't stop replaying it. The look in my brother's eyes, the hurt in my sister's voice. I'm cornered. If I stay, I lose the last of my family and whatever small chance I have to rebuild something with my son. But if I leave, I'm walking away from everything I built with this man, even if I'm starting to suspect most of it was a lie. I don't know what to do. I don't even know who I am anymore. All I know is I miss my son, and I'm starting to realize he might never come back. Update 3. The mask finally cracked. Trigger warning: domestic violence, emotional abuse, bullying. Elle still refuses to speak to me. Not a call, not a message, not even a glance through someone else. I've heard from a few old friends and even one of his former teachers that Jared, my stepson, has been tormenting him at school. Vicious bullying. Meaner than before, as if he's trying to make sure Elle stays broken. I went to my husband, begged him to make Jared stop. He didn't care. He said, Elle needs to man up. He's not welcome in this house anymore. His tone was cold, final, like he was speaking about a stranger, not the boy he helped raise. We argued, and I admit in a moment of weakness and frustration, I said things I regret, even insulted my own son. But then it got worse. My husband went up to the attic and came back down holding something I hadn't seen in years. My late husband's old guitar. Elle cherished that guitar. His father used to play it for him when he couldn't sleep. That guitar was the last thing Elle had to remember him by. My husband just grinned and said, "Found a buyer. Might as well make money off the junk he left behind." I snapped. I begged him to stop. We shouted at each other until he lifted the guitar like he was about to smash it, and I instinctively lunged to protect it. The blow landed on me. I was hit hard in the head. He panicked. There was blood. He rushed me to the hospital, telling them I'd slipped in the attic. I played along. Not because it was true, but because I was scared and too ashamed to admit the truth. We got back home and I lay down, dizzy and aching. Then the front door slammed open. My brother had arrived uninvited and furious. He said he knew something was wrong. When he saw the bandage on my head and the bruising, he didn't say a word, just stormed through the house. He found the cracked guitar on the floor with my blood still smeared across it. My husband was still on the ground in the corner of the room where he'd been sitting since we returned, too shaken to move. He hadn't even tried to clean anything up. My brother didn't hesitate. He grabbed him and threw him against the wall. My husband barely fought back. He curled up, tried to block the blows, begged him to stop. He was sobbing. Then, in front of us all, in the middle of the living room, he wet himself. A dark stain spreading down his pants as he whimpered, too scared to move. I was screaming for them to stop. It only ended when my husband collapsed, hands over his head, crying, "Please, please." That's when the police arrived. 2 officers, one of them the same cop who saw my husband throw Elle's belongings onto the street and burn that other guitar weeks ago. As soon as they walked in, my husband scrambled to his feet, trying to regain composure. He pointed at my brother and shouted, "He attacked me." But the officer just looked at him, the same officer who had seen it all before, and said coldly, "I don't like people like you." Then they laid it out: neighbor complaints, bullying, intimidation. The officer warned him directly, "Don't cause any more problems. If we hear even one more thing about you, even a whisper, it won't just be a warning next time." My husband stood there, frozen, pale, lips trembling. Then my brother picked up the cracked guitar and turned to me. He didn't raise his voice, didn't yell, just looked sad. "He used to play this for you. For your son. What do you think he'd say now, knowing you let this trash ruin everything?" He turned to leave, but paused and said one last thing. "You've got a choice. Leave him and be with your son, or stay here with this pathetic coward and lose everything that mattered." I'm sitting in that silence now, surrounded by memories and failure, and all I can think about is Elle, my son, who I promised to protect and didn't. Update 4. The unraveling. Since that night, my husband hasn't said much. He walks around the house like a shadow, barely speaking. He flinches at sudden sounds, avoids mirrors, avoids me. The man who once barked orders and mocked my son now can't even look me in the eye. Then came the call. He's been fired. Word spread fast in town about how he bullied my son, how he accidentally hit me, about everything. His construction company didn't want the drama. He tried to defend himself, and so did I at first. But no one would listen. People don't forget cruelty, not when it's done to a child. I've had time to think, to really think. I met my husband a year after my late husband died in a tragic accident overseas. He was working for a humanitarian group, and I was told later he saved someone's life that day. That's the kind of man he was. Kind, gentle, smart, always humming old songs on that guitar of his while Elle clung to him like a shadow. He was everything this house used to be. But when he died, I didn't grieve properly. I was broken, lost. I was scared. And then my current husband came along. He was the opposite, loud, charming, rugged. He had calloused hands, a deep laugh, and seemed like the kind of man who'd protect a family no matter what. He told me I needed someone strong, that Elle needed a father. He had Jared rough around the edges, sure, but I thought it was just boyish energy. His ex-wife was long gone. He had full custody, and in just under a year of dating, we were married. We moved in, and I kept telling myself this would be good. This was healing. This was right. But even then, Elle was pulling away. I saw it, the teasing, the shoves, the looks. I heard them sometimes. Stop being soft. Toughen up. I let it go because I believed them when they said it was just boys being boys. My husband would say, he needs to be stronger, he needs to survive this world. My family tried to warn me, again and again, but I didn't listen. Because deep down, I wasn't just protecting my husband. I was hiding from the truth. I was too afraid to be alone. And now the damage is done. Jared, who once smirked and strutted through this house like a prince, now lashes out too. He's angrier than ever. That scar on his forehead from the fight with Elle? It's a permanent reminder. I caught him punching holes in the garage wall the other day. There's no control left. No peace. Just fear, silence, and regret. Then, just days ago, a letter arrived. From my lawyer, the same one who read my late husband's will years ago. He asked to meet, said it concerns the will, and legal custody of Elle. I don't know what's coming next, but I feel that everything is about to change. Update 5. The meeting that changed everything. We had the meeting today. My husband insisted on coming with me, despite everything. Maybe he thought he could talk his way out. Maybe he thought things weren't as serious as they seemed. But the moment we stepped into that room and saw my brother, sister, several other relatives, and Elle sitting with the lawyer, I knew there would be no spinning this. The lawyer was calm, methodical, and merciless with the truth. He laid out everything: documents, photos, messages, evidence of neglect, evidence of bullying, not just from Jared, but from my husband too. Moments I had brushed aside or convinced myself were just discipline were now written down in black and white. It was damning. Then came the will. The original will from my late husband. The one I knew existed but hadn't looked at since it was first read. I had forgotten the specifics, maybe I didn't want to remember. That's when the room changed. The lawyer explained that the house doesn't belong to me. It was never mine. It belongs solely to Elle, inherited through his father's estate. My husband's face drained of color. I could feel his anger heating the air around us, but he stayed silent mostly because my brother was watching him like a hawk, daring him to try something. The lawyer then dropped the final blow. If the evidence they had was taken to the police, both my husband and Jared could face charges. To avoid this, the lawyer presented a decision, one backed by the will's clauses. My brother and sister are to assume full legal guardianship of Elle. I have 1 week to choose. Either leave the house with my husband or stay and begin the long process of repairing my relationship with my son. If I choose to stay, my husband cannot remain in the house. My husband's face was red, not just from embarrassment, but from fury. He was shaking. For a moment, I thought he might explode. But then my brother leaned forward and said the exact words my husband had once thrown at him when he came to collect Elle's destroyed belongings. "Say what you gotta say." And my husband said nothing. Not a word. He sat there, jaw tight, teeth grinding but silent. Elle didn't speak to me either. Not once during the meeting. His eyes never met mine, and I don't blame him. I asked for time to think, just a week. The lawyer agreed. Before we left, the lawyer informed me that the trust my late husband set up is now being fully audited. Any future withdrawals or changes will now require co-signatures from both my brother and sister. The will had a specific clause that protected L. If he ever felt unsafe, it was triggered automatically when he left the house. I felt like I had been sleepwalking for years. And now I've woken up in the wreckage. Update 6. Everything is closing in. It's been several days since the meeting, and things inside this house have only grown darker. My husband and stepson Jared are furious. The moment we returned, it was nothing but rage slamming doors, bitter words, blame hurled in every direction. They made it very clear. They will fight this, and they don't care how. Jared even said he hoped Elle would regret everything. My husband's eyes were cold when he said it. And I was afraid. Then he turned on me, told me it was my fault. That if I had told him the truth about the will about the house, about the trust, then maybe he would have treated Elle differently. That was the moment something finally shattered inside me. Because I realized, maybe he never really loved me. Maybe I was just part of the plan. A grieving widow, vulnerable, with a house and a trust attached. It makes sense now, the charm, the rush to marry, the quick move-in with Jared. It was all too fast. I was too blind. Then, as if things couldn't spiral more, I got a call from the lawyer. He had questions, pointed ones, about withdrawals made from the trust account, ones I had approved, ones I knew weren't right. I tried to explain. I told him I used some of the money for Jared, school stuff, clothes, medical bills once or twice, things Elle didn't even know about. The lawyer was not happy. He reminded me coldly that the trust was set up solely for Elle, that every cent I used on Jared was misappropriation, that further digging would happen. I asked, pleaded for more time to make my decision. He didn't raise his voice, but his words chilled me. You have days, not weeks. If no decision is made, the eviction will be finalized, and once that happens, there's no going back. Now I feel completely alone. The neighbors won't speak to us. Friends, even the ones who used to say they'd support me no matter what, have quietly faded away. The few that remain avoid my eyes. I tried again to speak to Elle. He looked through me. I even, in a moment of frustration, accused my siblings and relatives of parental alienation. I said they were poisoning Elle against me, that they were trying to take my child. They didn't yell. They didn't argue. They just stared at me, full of disappointment. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't the shame curling in my chest now. Update 7. The breaking point. Trigger warning, extreme violence, school assault, medical emergency. Only 2 days remained for my decision. The tension at home had become oppressive. Every look, every conversation was a countdown to everything falling apart. I reached out to everyone. Elle, my husband, my brother and sister, offering promises and compromises, but they never responded. When my brother asked if my husband felt any remorse, I lied that he did. They saw through it. After everything that happened, the hate, the destruction, they knew the truth. Then the worst happened. I got a frantic call from the school. Jared had attacked Elle in the cafeteria with a baseball bat. He struck Elle on the head. When Elle collapsed, Jared continued to beat him with relentless force. It all happened in front of dozens of other students. The school staff immediately called 911 and security intervened to break it up, finally tackling Jared before any more harm was done. Elle was unconscious, bleeding, and the school made his care their top priority. Emergency responders rushed him out, followed by Jared. My brother, sister, and other relatives, along with my husband, rushed to the hospital. So much chaos surrounded us that security had to intervene again to keep the peace. Now, both boys are in the ICU. Elle is in critical condition due to severe head trauma. Jared, severely beaten by other students amid the chaos, is badly injured. Broken limbs, bruises. Both are here, but only one has a chance to survive. And then came the worst blow of all. The eviction notice arrived, today, triggered the moment the hospital called with the news. The lawyer said the violence activated the clause in the will immediately. There's no room to negotiate or plead anymore. I'm sitting here in the silent void of the hospital lobby, with my broken husband, my injured son fighting for his life, my brother and sister silent but determined, while a piece of paper tells me I must leave my home and lose everything I've tried to protect. I don't know what happens next. I just know I've already lost the only thing that really mattered, my son. Update 8. Displaced and drowning in consequences. We were forced to vacate the house immediately. My husband and I packed what little we could carry and ended up in a cheap roadside motel. Stale air, flickering lights, and the overwhelming weight of everything we've lost. With no job and no income, we're surviving on what's left of my savings. But it won't last. A couple of months at most. Maybe less. After the incident, a restraining order was filed against my husband. It was approved without hesitation. He barely says a word now. Sunken, withdrawn, and bitter. Jared, after being stabilized, was formally charged. Because of how violent the attack was, the prosecutor is considering trying him as an adult. And if the doctors are right, Jared may never walk again. He says he can't feel his legs, and they suspect a spinal injury. More tests are being done, but no one has offered hope. As for my son, Elle, they had to rush him into emergency surgery. His brain had swollen dangerously. There was internal bleeding. The doctors had to put him into a medically induced coma to give his body a chance to survive. No one will say how bad the damage is. They look at me, then turn away. It's all I can do to stay upright. My family, my brother, my sister, even the cousins I rarely saw are furious, and they have every right to be. They called me pathetic for staying with the man who hurt my son, who let Jared turn into someone capable of doing what he did. My sister couldn't even look at me. My brother hasn't said a word since the hospital. Not one. Some friends have reached out quietly. They told me that I've been emotionally abused too, that I was controlled, manipulated, made small over years, that I need to leave him, that I still have a choice. But I'm scared. I've spent so long convincing myself that this was the life I deserved, that being alone was worse than being unhappy. Now, I sit on a creaky motel bed, listening to the rain through the walls, wondering if it's too late. Update 9. Abandoned and alone. He left. I came back to the motel room and found it empty. His things were gone, and so was the money. He drained my bank account. Every cent. No note. No goodbye. Just silence and a frozen balance on my phone. I later learned that he even tried to access Elle's trust fund. He failed, thankfully, but the fact that he tried at all shattered any illusion I had left. Word spread quickly. Apparently, he also tried to get back into the house, but the neighbors spotted him and scared him off before he could do anything. Now the police are officially looking for him. He's vanished, and no one really seems surprised. Jared, his own son, was left behind in the hospital, completely abandoned, alone, broken, and facing charges as an adult for the assault. The doctors confirmed Jared's injuries are serious, but not permanent. He'll regain movement in his legs, but it'll take time and very expensive therapy. Therapy I know his father has no intention of providing. And my son, Elle, is still in a coma. He's out of immediate danger, but his condition remains critical. The hospital staff are cautious, and my family, despite their justified anger, have coordinated a 24/7 watch over him. Nurses allow it. The hospital understands, and in some way, I think they're protecting him from me too. They did let me see him, but they never left me alone. And I knew then, without them having to say it. If I push too hard, if I cross any line, they'll take me to court. They'll win. I'm currently staying with one of the few friends who didn't cut ties. She has a small spare room and a quiet understanding. I have nothing but what's left in my purse, just enough to get through the week. No home, no job, no husband, no certainty that my son will ever wake up. Or if he'll want me there if he does. Update 10. A stranger from the past. It's been a month since everything collapsed, and every day still feels like I'm falling. I've begged the lawyer for help over and over. He always sounds tired of me. Cold, unforgiving. He told me the will was ironclad, that I had broken the trust placed in me, that I couldn't be counted on. Not anymore. I've applied for jobs, swallowing my pride with every application, but nothing came back. No calls, no replies. The news spread fast. My name is dirt in this town. The mother who let her son end up in a coma. No one wants to hire me. No one wants to even look at me. The only person still standing by me is my friend. She's been kind, even as people whisper behind her back about me. She shut them down, told me I could stay as long as I needed. And I believe her, but I also know her patience isn't infinite. Every day I stay, I feel like a burden. I visit Elle every single day. I sit by his bed, holding his hand, whispering apologies he can't hear. The doctors say he's out of immediate danger, but still critical. His body is healing. Slowly. He's still in a coma. I pray that when he wakes up, he'll at least be able to look at me without hate. Then, today, something unexpected happened. A man approached my brother in the hospital lobby. I noticed him right away. Tall, fit, clean-shaven, like he stepped out of another world. He carried himself with this quiet power, like someone used to being obeyed without needing to raise his voice. There were others around him I didn't recognize, watching, staying close. He introduced himself to me. "My name is Andrew," he said. "I knew your husband. Your first husband." I didn't know what to say. We ended up sitting in the cafeteria, and somehow I opened up. I told him everything. About Jared, about my current husband, about how blind I was, about the guilt that chokes me every single day. He didn't judge me. He just listened. After I finished, he looked down and said quietly, "I should have been there for your son." When I asked him how he knew my husband, he told me they met in China, both doing humanitarian work. They had helped schools, delivered food, built shelters. I had no idea. I was too consumed with grief back then to ask the full story. Then he told me what really happened. A child, barely 4, ran into the street. My husband saw him and ran without thinking. He pushed the boy out of the way and was hit by a truck. Andrew was there. He saw everything. Too far to help. Too late to save him. He was gone before they could do anything, he said. But he died saving a life. That's the kind of man he was. I couldn't stop the tears. Before he left, one of the people nearby handed him a black guitar case. He gave it to me. Inside was a guitar I immediately recognized, my husband's father's guitar, a family heirloom, one he promised to pass on to Elle. Andrew looked at me and said, "I've kept this safe for years. It's his now, when he wakes up." Then he told me something I didn't expect. "I'll help you," he said. "I won't promise what I can't give, but I'll do what I can, for your son, and for the man who gave his life for a stranger." I didn't know what to say. For the first time in a long while, I felt like someone saw me, not as a failure, but as someone who desperately wants to do right. I don't know where this will lead, but I know I'm not as alone as I thought. Update 11. A door cracked open. They finally found him. My husband, X, I suppose that's what he'll become soon, was arrested a couple cities away. Drunk in a bar, ranting about how everything was taken from him, about how he bailed because they turned against him. Someone recognized his face from the reports and called the police. He's in jail now. I visited him once. Just once. He looked worn down, bitter. Not once did he apologize. He just gave excuses, pointed fingers, at me, at the lawyer, at Jared, at everyone but himself. I left that visit feeling hollow, like I'd been holding on to ashes and pretending it was something solid. Jared, on the other hand, is practically on his own now. His father hasn't even tried to reach out. And Jared, he cried. I was there when he broke down. He begged for forgiveness, his voice shaking with guilt. He said he didn't know what came over him, that he didn't know how much damage he'd done until it was too late. Some relatives on his biological father's side finally stepped in. They're going to help with his recovery and therapy. I don't know if it's redemption, but it's something. And Elle. He finally woke up. I wasn't there when it happened. The doctors called me, said his vitals stabilized enough that the swelling in his brain had gone down. He opened his eyes. The first thing I asked was whether he remembered anything, whether he was still himself. The doctor smiled gently and said, "There appears to be no permanent damage, but healing will take time, physically and emotionally." I broke down in the hallway, trying not to sob loud enough for anyone to hear. And Andrew. True to his word, he didn't abandon us. He covered the hospital bills, quietly, without asking for anything in return. He even spoke to the lawyer about the house, but after reviewing the will, even he agreed that it couldn't be reversed. Still, he didn't walk away. Instead, he arranged for a small apartment under his company's name. Something modest but safe. I tried to decline it. I didn't want charity. But he cut me off. "This isn't a gift," he said firmly. "It's an opportunity. You'll earn your keep." He told me he heard I'd been looking for a job and that a marketing agency was opening a local branch. If I wanted stability, I had to apply. No favors, no shortcuts. I haven't felt this nervous in years, but also not this alive. There's still a long way to go. Elle isn't ready to talk to me. My family still barely trusts me. But something has shifted. A small door has opened, and this time I won't let it close. Update 12. The road begins. My sister came to see me today. Alone. I could see it in her eyes before she even said the words. "He doesn't want you to visit anymore." Elle asked for space. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just asked to be left alone. And I understood. I've never felt a sadness so heavy and quiet before. Not the kind that breaks you with loud sobs, but the kind that makes you sit still and feel like your body isn't yours anymore. I told her I would respect his wishes. I asked them, her, my brother, the others, to keep taking care of him. I don't deserve to be near him right now. Maybe I never did. As for the mess my husband left behind, what little money was left, I managed to get back. Not much. Most of it had been wasted in bars, motels, and God knows where else. I refuse to see him again. He won't sign the divorce papers just out of spite. But I won't chase him. Not anymore. The house is being watched over by relatives. They've kept it secure, locked it down. It's strange knowing I'll never walk through that door again, but maybe that's for the best. Then came the interview. The job Andrew mentioned, his company's partner firm, a marketing agency, was taking applicants. I walked into that office praying for a clean slate. Instead, I met Samantha. She looked me up and down like she already decided. Her first words weren't even a greeting. They were venom. "Andrew shouldn't waste his kindness on people like you. You abandoned your child." I froze, but I didn't argue. I had no defense. Then, like flipping a switch, she moved into the interview, sharp and cold, asked the questions. I answered them as best as I could, but I knew I was underqualified. At the end, she didn't sugarcoat anything. "You're not qualified to work here, but I'm going to give you a chance. Earn it." And that's exactly what I did. They started me on everything. Coffee runs, data entry, cleaning up after meetings, organizing files no one touched in years. Long hours, sore feet, a growling stomach. I went home exhausted and numb, but I showed up the next day. Then the next. Because I have nothing left to lose, but everything to prove. Final update, her point of view. Grace earned the hard way. It's been 6 months. The divorce is final. I didn't go to any of the hearings, not out of spite, but because there was nothing left to say. He spent some time in jail, and as far as I'm concerned, whatever part he played in my life is over. I've moved on from him, even if the consequences still linger. Elle still won't see me. That wound is deep, and I understand now that it might take a lifetime to heal. If it ever does. I asked my brother to give him the guitar, the heirloom from his father that Andrew had kept safe all these years. I wasn't there when it was delivered, but I heard Elle cried when he opened the case. Andrew was with him. They talked for a while, then Andrew left. No fanfare, no long goodbyes. He told my brother to reach out if the family needed anything. That's just the kind of man he is. Quiet, steady, reliable. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I looked into who Andrew really was. That's when I learned he's the CEO of a tech company. Respected, successful, powerful in ways that made my knees weak to think about. And Samantha, the one who had grilled me so harshly during the interview, is one of the top executives in the marketing firm. Apparently, the satellite office I work at was opened just recently to help handle overflow projects from their headquarters. Samantha hardly ever visits satellite offices, yet she's come by mine twice already. She says it's to check in on things, but I can't shake the feeling she's keeping an eye on me. Watching. Testing. Maybe making sure I don't waste the chance Andrew gave me. Work is hard, the hours are long. I started from the very bottom. Errands, filing, endless menial tasks. But I stuck with it. I didn't complain. And over time, I began to earn trust. Kim, one of the younger staff, was the one who told me that my apartment had been covered for a full year under Andrew's company name. No rent, just utilities. I broke down when I heard that. Not out of joy, but because I didn't believe I deserved it. I failed my son, and no kindness can erase that. Kim saw the tears and gently said, "It's not charity. You're earning it. Every day you show up. Every day you try. That's what counts." Then she gave me a small, reassuring smile that stayed with me all week. Elle still won't see me, and maybe he never will. But I hope. I pray. And until then, I will keep showing up. Keep working, keep proving, to him, to myself, to the people watching, that I'm not the same woman I was. Because redemption isn't something you're given. It's something you earn. Inch by inch, day by day.
What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping family drama, shocking betrayals, and the revenge stories you won't believe.